What if I told you the most powerful way to destroy your enemy involves no fighting at all? No shouting, no revenge, no drama, just a quiet strength that changes the entire game. For centuries, Stoic philosophers mastered the art of winning without war, through insight, restraint, and inner clarity. In this video, we'll walk through 13 time-tested Stoic ways to disarm conflict and reclaim your peace. Ready to learn how to turn chaos into calm? Let's begin. Rule number 1, delve into your adversary's mind, a Stoic practice for inner peace. Have you ever found yourself caught in a moment of intense conflict? Heart pounding, breath shallow, your words ready to strike like a sword? We've all been there. A workplace disagreement, a family dispute, a fiery online debate. It's easy to get swept away by emotion. But what if instead of reacting, you paused? What if you chose to understand rather than retaliate? This is the first Stoic key to transforming conflict. Delve into the mind of your adversary. The Stoics, particularly Epictetus, remind us, it's not things that upset us, but our judgment about things. That simple yet profound insight can shift the entire course of a disagreement. Before responding, take a breath, literally. Step back mentally and observe the situation from a distance, as if you were a fly on the wall. This distance allows us to move from reaction to reflection. Try asking yourself, asterisk, what might they be going through? What fear, pain, or desire lies beneath their words? Stoicism encourages us to go beneath the surface of the outburst or accusation and see the river beneath the rapids. Conflict often arises not from evil intent, but from misunderstood needs or emotional wounds left unspoken. Here's a practice you can try. In your next disagreement, pause and ask the other person sincerely, what's really bothering you? Then listen, not to respond, but to understand. You don't need to agree with them. Your aim is empathy, not endorsement. Seneca wisely said, wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. That includes the one who's angry at you. Imagine how disarming it would be if instead of defending yourself, you said, I want to understand where you're coming from. Use your imagination like a Stoic lens. Try to see the world through their eyes. What life events might have shaped their views? What principles are they defending? This mental exercise doesn't excuse harmful behavior, but it illuminates the terrain beneath it. You may be surprised what once felt like a personal attack begins to look like an expression of unmet needs or unspoken fears. In that clarity, compassion arises, and often solutions emerge without a single raised voice. That's the quiet strength of a Stoic, to look past the chaos into the human soul and find stillness there. Rule number 2, choose your battles wisely, a Stoic compass in a world of noise. Life is full of conflicts, some minor, others monumental. A rude comment in traffic, a colleague's passive-aggressive remark, a political disagreement at the dinner table. It's tempting to engage with all of them, to defend your viewpoint, to correct the wrongs, to be right. But here's a sobering truth the Stoics knew well. Not every battle is worth fighting. In fact, some are better walked away from in silence. The greatest remedy for anger, Seneca reminds us, is delay. Imagine standing before a vast battlefield, every disagreement inviting you into combat. Now ask yourself, do I really need to enter every one of these? The second Stoic strategy urges discernment. When we choose our battles wisely, we conserve not only energy, but also our emotional well-being. Here's a Stoic practice. Before reacting, pause and ask, asterisk. Does this situation truly affect my core values or long-term peace? Often you'll realize it's a fleeting irritation, not a fundamental threat. Epictetus once said, It's not the event itself that disturbs you, but your judgment about it. That judgment, if unchecked, can drag you into unnecessary turmoil. There are situations where walking away is not weakness, but wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, often reminded himself, "You always own the option of having no opinion. You don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. Choosing silence can be an act of strength, not surrender." Let's make this practical. Next time you feel provoked, try this exercise. Take 3 deep breaths and mentally ask, "Is this a mountain or just a stone in my path?" Then consider what it would cost, emotionally, mentally, to engage. Is the price worth it? Often, peace is more valuable than being right. The Stoics also encourage us to weigh outcomes. What's the likely result of entering this disagreement? Even if you win, will it bring harmony or just bruised egos? When we respond reactively, we may win the argument, but lose connection, inner peace, or dignity. Remember, choosing your battles isn't about indifference. It's about wisdom. It's about honoring your limited energy and channeling it toward what truly matters. The next time conflict arises, don't rush in with raised fists or sharp words. Instead, pause, think, and if needed, walk away quietly with the calm of someone who knows their strength lies in restraint. That, my friend, is the quiet power of the Stoic path. Rule number 3, speak with calm and clarity, a Stoic voice in the midst of chaos. In a world that often rewards the loudest voice, it takes a different kind of strength to speak softly, with intention. How many times have we found ourselves in the middle of an argument, voices raised, hearts racing, only to later regret what we said or how we said it? The Stoics offer us a powerful alternative. Speak not to overpower, but to understand, to choose calm and clarity over volume and anger. Seneca, the Roman Stoic, wrote, "No man was ever wise by chance." Wisdom in communication is not an accident. It's a choice to listen deeply, to respond instead of react, and to remain grounded even when the conversation becomes heated. Let's begin with listening. Stoic communication starts with presence. Instead of waiting for your turn to speak, practice active listening. Observe not only their words, but their tone, their body language, the emotion behind their message. Ask yourself, what are they really trying to express? This small act of awareness can shift the entire tone of a conversation. When it's your turn to speak, choose words that reveal your thoughts without attacking the other. Use I statements to express your perspective. "I feel overlooked in this situation," instead of "you always ignore me." This invites connection instead of defensiveness. Remember, your goal is not to win, but to reach understanding. Here's a Stoic practice worth trying. In your next difficult conversation, focus on your breath. Breathe slowly before responding. Speak with a steady voice. And if your emotions begin to rise, pause. There is strength in silence too. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. That includes the power to guide your words with intention. When we control our tone, we control the emotional direction of the dialogue. Clarity is another pillar. Be honest but kind. Be firm but never harsh. Say what needs to be said, but leave out the venom. Clarity clears confusion. Calm dissolves resistance. So next time you find yourself on the verge of verbal battle, ask yourself, is my goal to be heard or to be understood? Then speak like a Stoic, steady, thoughtful, and rooted in reason. That's the voice of true strength in a noisy world. Rule number 4, seek the shared path, a Stoic journey toward understanding. Picture two mountain climbers ascending separate peaks, each convinced their path is the only way up. But as they climb higher, they begin to see the ridgelines converge, the view expands, and what once felt like distance begins to dissolve. This image captures the heart of the fourth Stoic strategy: seek the shared path. In conflict, we often focus on our differences. But what if we look deeper for what connects us? The Stoics believed in harmony with nature and with each other. Or Marcus Aurelius wrote, "We are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids." The aim is not to surrender your values, but to recognize the values you may already share with the person in front of you. In modern life, we often approach disagreement as a battlefield, but Stoicism invites us to reframe it as a bridge, a space not to compete, but to connect. So how do we do that in practice? Start by shifting your perspective from me to we. Instead of asking asterisk, how can I win this? Try asking asterisk, what do we both care about here? Maybe it's respect, safety, fairness, or simply being heard. Common ground often hides beneath the noise of disagreement. Here's a Stoic exercise to try. In your next difficult conversation, pause and ask yourself silently, asterisk, what human need is driving their frustration? It might be fear, the need for dignity, or the desire to feel understood. Recognizing that doesn't mean you have to agree. It simply opens the door to empathy. Shared values are the compass. Even in moments of conflict, many of us still believe in kindness, justice, or honesty. Naming these mutual values aloud can change the tone of a conversation. I know we both value honesty, so let's work from that. This creates a moral foundation that both sides can stand on. Progress doesn't always mean full agreement. Start small. Find even a tiny point of overlap. Acknowledge it. Let it build momentum. As Epictetus taught, small steps are the beginning of great achievements. So next time tension arises, imagine that shared summit. Your goal isn't to prove someone wrong, it's to climb together, to find clarity and connection, and to leave the conversation lighter than you entered it. In doing so, you're not giving up ground. You're building it. That is the quiet, enduring strength of seeking the shared path. Rule number 5, appeal to their inner values. A Stoic pathway to lasting influence. Imagine standing before a mighty oak tree, its roots firm, its branches unyielding. Pushing against it directly won't move it. But what if instead of using force, you sought to nourish the roots, to understand what holds it upright? This is the essence of the fifth Stoic strategy. Appeal not to ego, but to inner values. When you speak to someone's deeper principles, real change becomes possible, without coercion, without resistance. Stoicism teaches that we are not just shaped by logic, but guided by what we hold sacred. Values like fairness, honesty, responsibility, or compassion. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." His point? Actions aligned with values speak louder than demands or arguments. In conflict, we often focus on behaviors, what someone did or said, but beneath those behaviors lie beliefs. To shift the outcome, speak to those beliefs. Ask yourself, asterisk, what matters most to this person? What values are they trying to protect, even if imperfectly? Here's a Stoic practice. Before a challenging conversation, spend a moment observing the other person's actions, words, or decisions. What do they consistently affirm or defend? These patterns often reveal their value landscape. Once you identify them, your dialogue can be rooted in shared ideals. Instead of saying, "You're wrong," consider, "I know you care deeply about fairness. That's why I think we can find a way that feels fair to both of us." This isn't manipulation, It's resonance. It's bridging your ideas with theirs, using values as common ground. And remember, values are often shared, even in disagreement. Most people want to be seen as principled. By aligning your proposal with their self-image, you increase the chance of meaningful engagement. This approach honors their dignity and preserves your integrity. Also, show rather than tell. Use simple examples, stories, or personal actions that illustrate how your perspective reflects their values in practice. When someone sees their own principles mirrored back to them, it disarms the ego and awakens the conscience. So next time you find yourself in a tough conversation, don't push harder. Listen deeper. Don't argue points. Speak to principles. Because in the end, the strongest influence isn't forceful persuasion, but speaking gently to what someone already believes is right. That is the Stoic way of changing minds, with respect, with insight, and with timeless wisdom. Rule number 6, use humor wisely, the Stoic art of gentle lightness. Humor, when used with care, is like a lantern in a dark cave. It doesn't erase the shadows, but it softens them enough for us to see clearly. In moments of tension, a well-placed smile or a gentle laugh can open a path toward a connection. But used carelessly, humor can just as easily wound. This is why the 6th Stoic strategy reminds us: use humor wisely. The Stoics, though often seen as serious thinkers, were not devoid of warmth. Seneca wrote, "A joke is a delicate matter. It can become an insult if handled clumsily." Humor to the Stoic isn't about mockery, it's about perspective. When used wisely, it helps us and others step back from the edge of emotional cliffs. Consider a conflict where frustration begins to rise. Instead of a sharp reply, imagine offering a light, self-deprecating remark. "Well, I've definitely stepped in it this time," you might say with a grin. The tension begins to ease, not because the issue disappears, but because the edge of hostility is softened. Here's a Stoic exercise. Before injecting humor into a serious moment, ask yourself, asterisk, is this joke healing or harming? Humor should never belittle, stereotype, or dismiss someone's experience. Instead, it should invite shared humanity, a reminder that even in disagreement, we are still fellow travelers. Timing, too, is everything. Humor is best delivered when tempers have cooled, not when emotions are raw. Be especially careful with sarcasm. While it may feel clever, it often cuts more than it connects. One powerful approach? Laugh with, not at. Gentle, inclusive humor, especially aimed at ourselves, can disarm defensiveness and foster empathy. It says, "I'm human too. Let's not take ourselves too seriously." In a world where humor is often weaponized, using it with kindness is a quiet act of Stoic rebellion. Not to dismiss problems, but to illuminate them, lightly, wisely, and with just enough grace to invite understanding. That's the Stoic smile, subtle, respectful, and deeply human. Rule number 7, offer empathy, building bridges, not walls, the Stoic way. Imagine standing on one side of a steep ravine and someone you care about is on the other. Between you lies misunderstanding, anger, and past wounds. Shouting across won't bring you closer. But if you walk down, cross carefully, and meet them in the middle, that's empathy. And that's what the 7th Stoic strategy calls us to practice, offering empathy, especially when it's hardest. To many, Stoicism might seem cold or distant. Yet at its heart, Stoicism teaches profound compassion, not through emotional outbursts, but through deep, steady understanding. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself, what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize?" This reflection is the seed of empathy. It invites humility, not judgment. Empathy doesn't require that we agree or approve. It asks us simply to recognize, I see that you're hurting. I hear your frustration. In tense conversations, this can feel like the last thing we want to do. But offering empathy isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the willingness to momentarily set aside our own position and look through the lens of another. Here's a Stoic exercise. During your next disagreement, slow your breath and ask yourself, what pain or fear might be behind their anger? Often what presents as aggression is actually sadness, shame, or fear. Empathy turns conflict into inquiry. It also helps to pay attention not just to words, but to tone, posture, and silence. Listen for what's not being said. Sometimes people are simply trying to be heard, not corrected. You might say, "It sounds like this really matters to you." Or, "I can see how that situation must have felt unfair." Simple words, spoken with sincerity, can create space for healing. And remember, empathy doesn't erase boundaries or truth. It softens the tone and honors our shared humanity. As Seneca put it, wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. So when conflict arises, resist the urge to retreat or strike. Instead, step forward, with presence, with curiosity, with heart. That quiet walk toward another's experience may be the very thing that leads both of you back to peace. That is the Stoic bridge, not built with stone, but with soul. Rule number 8, embrace compromise, the Stoic strength in flexibility. Picture a tall oak swaying in the wind. It doesn't resist every gust. It bends, adjusts, and survives. This is the spirit of the 8th Stoic strategy. Embrace compromise. While our culture often associates compromise with weakness or defeat, Stoicism reveals it as a profound expression of strength, patience, and wisdom. Epictetus reminded us, "Seek not for events to happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly." This isn't a call to passivity, it's a call to adaptive wisdom. In human relationships, rigid positions rarely lead to resolution. Compromise, on the other hand, creates room for cooperation and forward movement. Let's begin with mindset. Instead of approaching a disagreement as a win-or-lose situation, try reframing it as a joint problem-solving effort. Ask yourself, what solution would benefit both of us, not just me? Shifting from me to we opens the door to creative outcomes neither party might have reached alone. Here's a Stoic practice. Before entering a negotiation or conflict, write down what truly matters to you. What are your non-negotiables? What are you willing to be flexible on? This clarity helps you compromise with intention, not out of pressure, but out of principle. Another insight from the Stoics: know the difference between pride and purpose. Many conflicts escalate not because of the issue itself, but because egos get entangled. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change." That's the courage of humility. Start with small agreements. Acknowledge progress when it happens. "I appreciate that we found a point we both agree on," you might say. These moments build trust and create a foundation for larger resolutions. Also, be ready to revisit. Compromises aren't always final. They may evolve as circumstances change. Openness to reevaluation is not instability, it's maturity. Embracing compromise doesn't mean sacrificing your values. It means living in alignment with a deeper one: peace. By letting go of unnecessary rigidity, you gain resilience. You learn to bend, not break, and in doing so, you honor the Stoic path, not through resistance, but through graceful strength. Because sometimes real power lies not in standing your ground, but in knowing when to step toward the middle. Rule number 9, seek external aid without shame. The Stoic wisdom of asking for help. Imagine trying to untangle yourself from a thick, thorny bramble. The more you twist and turn, the tighter it grips. In life, conflicts and emotional struggles can feel just like that, dense, disorienting, and painful. Sometimes, no matter how wise or composed we try to be, we can't find our way out alone. That's when the 9th Stoic principle speaks clearly. Seek external aid without shame. There's a common myth that asking for help is a sign of weakness, but Stoicism sees it differently. True strength isn't about doing everything on your own. It's about knowing when support is needed and having the courage to reach for it. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if someone can show me I'm mistaken, I will gladly change. That requires humility, and humility is one of Stoicism's highest virtues. Seeking external aid, whether from a friend, a mentor, a therapist, or a mediator, is not an admission of failure. It's a commitment to clarity. When emotions cloud judgment or conversations go in circles, a calm, objective voice can be the light that leads us forward. Here's a Stoic practice to consider. When you feel stuck in a conflict, ask yourself, asterisk, is there someone wise and neutral who can help both sides see more clearly? Sometimes all it takes is a third party to translate the unsaid, to mirror blind spots, or to calm the emotional tides. Mediators and counselors are not there to fix anyone. They're guides trained to foster understanding and build bridges where resentment has taken root. Their presence reminds us that healing and resolution are not solo pursuits. They are human ones. Moreover, asking for help can model courage for others. It tells your children, your peers, and even your adversaries that strength includes openness, that we are all works in progress, and wisdom often walks in community, not in isolation. So the next time you're in the middle of emotional thorns, don't wrestle alone. Extend a hand. Whether through dialogue or professional support, you honor the Stoic path by recognizing that wisdom sometimes arrives in another's voice. Because knowing when to ask for help, that's not weakness, that's mastery of self. Rule number 10, forgiveness, the Stoic release that frees the soul. Imagine carrying a heavy stone on your back, day after day, year after year. At first you feel its weight. Later you become used to it, unaware how it slowly bends your posture, limits your breath, and wears you down. This is what holding on to resentment does to the soul. The Stoics knew this burden well, and they offered a simple yet profound remedy: forgiveness. But let's be clear, Stoic forgiveness is not about forgetting the wrong or excusing harmful behavior. It's about liberation. Seneca wrote, "He who is revengeful lives in a state of continual misery." In other words, holding on to anger keeps the wound open. Forgiveness instead is the salve that lets healing begin. Modern life can make forgiveness feel like surrender, especially in a culture that prizes justice, accountability, and strength. But the Stoic path reframes it. Forgiveness is not a favor you give the other person. It is a gift you give yourself. Ask yourself this: asterisk, what is the cost of holding on to this pain? Emotional exhaustion, strained relationships, sleepless nights. When you choose to forgive, you choose your peace over your pride. And that, ironically, is an act of true inner strength. Here's a Stoic exercise to begin. Write down the person or event that hurt you. Then, reflect on this question: what do I gain by carrying this resentment forward? Most often, the answer is nothing but stress. Now ask what might I gain by letting it go, even a little? This reflective process helps shift perspective and brings awareness to the self-inflicted nature of ongoing anger. Forgiveness is also a process. Some days the weight returns, but each time you consciously release it, even for a moment, you lighten your path. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." By forgiving, you're not condoning the wrong. You're choosing not to become it. And don't forget, sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself. Stoic practice invites us to examine our flaws honestly but compassionately. Growth cannot occur when shame is our compass. We must learn, make amends when needed, then move forward with clarity and courage. So the next time your heart feels heavy with resentment, take a deep breath and ask yourself, is this stone still worth carrying? You may find that setting it down isn't weakness, but wisdom. That is the quiet liberation Stoicism offers, not through vengeance, but through release. Rule number 9, seek external aid without shame. The Stoic wisdom of asking for help. Imagine trying to untangle yourself from a thick, thorny bramble. The more you twist and turn, the tighter it grips. In life, conflicts and emotional struggles can feel just like that, dense, disorienting, and painful. Sometimes, no matter how wise or composed we try to be, we can't find our way out alone. That's when the 9th Stoic principle speaks clearly. Seek external aid without shame. There's a common myth that asking for help is a sign of weakness, but Stoicism sees it differently. True strength isn't about doing everything on your own. It's about knowing when support is needed and having the courage to reach for it. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if someone can show me I'm mistaken, I will gladly change. That requires humility, and humility is one of Stoicism's highest virtues. Seeking external aid, whether from a friend, a mentor, a therapist, or a mediator, is not an admission of failure. It's a commitment to clarity. When emotions cloud judgment or conversations go in circles, a calm, objective voice can be the light that leads us forward. Here's a Stoic practice to consider. When you feel stuck in a conflict, ask yourself, is there someone wise and neutral who can help both sides see more clearly? Sometimes all it takes is a third party to translate the unsaid, to mirror blind spots, or to calm the emotional tides. Mediators and counselors are not there to fix anyone. They're guides trained to foster understanding and build bridges where resentment has taken root. Their presence reminds us that healing and resolution are not solo pursuits. They are human ones. Moreover, asking for help can model courage for others. It tells your children, your peers, and even your adversaries that strength includes openness, that we are all works in progress, and wisdom often walks in community, not in isolation. So the next time you're in the middle of emotional thorns, don't wrestle alone. Extend a hand. Whether through dialogue or professional support, you honor the Stoic path by recognizing that wisdom sometimes arrives in another's voice. Because knowing when to ask for help, that's not weakness. That's mastery of self. Rule number 10, forgiveness, the Stoic release that frees the soul. Imagine carrying a heavy stone on your back, day after day, year after year. At first you feel its weight. Later you become used to it, unaware how it slowly bends your posture, limits your breath, and wears you down. This is what holding on to resentment does to the soul. The Stoics knew this burden well, and they offered a simple yet profound remedy: forgiveness. But let's be clear, Stoic forgiveness is not about forgetting the wrong or excusing harmful behavior. It's about liberation, Seneca wrote, "He who is revengeful lives in a state of continual misery." In other words, holding on to anger keeps the wound open. Forgiveness instead is the salve that lets healing begin. Modern life can make forgiveness feel like surrender, especially in a culture that prizes justice, accountability, and strength. But the Stoic path reframes it. Forgiveness is not a favor you give the other person. It is a gift you give yourself. Ask yourself this. Asterisk, what is the cost of holding on to this pain? Emotional exhaustion, strained relationships, sleepless nights. When you choose to forgive, you choose your peace over your pride. And that, ironically, is an act of true inner strength. Here's a Stoic exercise to begin. Write down the person or event that hurt you. Then, reflect on this question. What do I gain by carrying this resentment forward? Most often, the answer is nothing but stress. Now ask asterisk, what might I gain by letting it go? Even a little. This reflective process helps shift perspective and brings awareness to the self-inflicted nature of ongoing anger. Forgiveness is also a process. Some days the weight returns, but each time you consciously release it, even for a moment, you lighten your path. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." By forgiving, you're not condoning the wrong. You're choosing not to become it. And don't forget, sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself. Stoic practice invites us to examine our flaws honestly but compassionately. Growth cannot occur when shame is our compass. We must learn, make amends when needed, then move forward with clarity and courage. So the next time your heart feels heavy with resentment, take a deep breath and ask yourself, asterisk, is this stone still worth carrying? You may find that setting it down isn't weakness, but wisdom. That is the quiet liberation Stoicism offers, not through vengeance, but through release. Rule number 11, grow from conflict, the Stoic alchemy of turning pain into wisdom. Think of a forest after a wildfire. At first, there is only ash, silence, and ruin. But give it time and life begins to reemerge, stronger, more resilient, deeply rooted. This is the essence of the 11th Stoic strategy. Grow from conflict. For the Stoics, pain was never wasted. Every struggle held the seeds of transformation if we chose to learn from it. Epictetus, once a slave who rose to become a great teacher, famously said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." When conflict strikes, much is outside our control. The actions of others, the words they speak, the timing. But what remains firmly ours is how we reflect, how we learn, and how we grow from the experience. Conflict reveals us to ourselves. It shows us where we're still reactive, what values we cling to, and what fears lie beneath our surface. If we pay attention, disagreement can become a mirror, a place not of shame, but of insight. Here's a Stoic practice to engage with. After a difficult conversation or argument, take 10 quiet minutes and write down what happened. Not just what they said, but how you felt. Then ask yourself, asterisk, what part of me felt most threatened? Was it pride, fear, a need for control? This kind of honest reflection is where growth begins. From there, shift toward action. Did your communication falter? Practice listening more attentively next time. Were your emotions too intense? Explore breath work or journaling as tools to center yourself. The Stoics didn't aim to be perfect. They aimed to be intentional. Marcus Aurelius advised, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." Every challenge, including conflict, is part of that privilege. It's an invitation to become more resilient, more compassionate, more wise. Growth from conflict doesn't mean the pain disappears, but it does mean the pain has purpose. With time and perspective, what once felt like rupture can become the root of renewal. So the next time you walk through the ashes of disagreement, don't rush to sweep them away. Sit with them, learn from them, and watch how, slowly, something unexpected begins to grow. That is the Stoic way, not to avoid the fire, but to rise from it transformed. Rule number 12. Set boundaries. The Stoic practice of protecting your inner peace. Picture yourself standing barefoot on a quiet beach. The ocean is calm, the air still, but suddenly someone walks up, shouting, kicking sand, disrupting your stillness. You didn't ask for this. You didn't invite it. Yet now your peace feels invaded. The 12th Stoic strategy is about drawing a line in the sand, firm yet respectful. It's about setting boundaries. Many people, especially those who value harmony, fear that setting boundaries makes them seem cold or selfish. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. Boundaries are not walls to push people away. They are markers that help us live in alignment with our values. As Epictetus reminds us, it's not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. We cannot control others' actions, but we can shape how we respond, and that includes deciding what we will or won't allow in our space. To set boundaries well, we must first know ourselves. What do you truly value? What drains your energy or leaves you feeling disrespected? Begin there. A helpful Stoic exercise is journaling your recent moments of discomfort. What caused them? Was it a repeated interruption? A broken promise? These clues will point you toward your non-negotiables. Once identified, boundaries must be expressed with clarity and kindness. Use I statements to convey your position without blame. For example, I need time to recharge after work, so I won't be available to talk right away. This isn't about control, it's about communication. Be prepared too for pushback. Not everyone will welcome your boundaries. Stay steady. Like a lighthouse in a storm, your consistency signals self-respect. Marcus Aurelius urged himself to be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved, and the raging of the sea falls still around it. Boundaries aren't rigid barriers. They can evolve. The key is to keep returning to your inner compass, checking in with your values and adjusting when needed. Remember, by setting boundaries, you aren't being unkind. You're choosing self-respect over resentment, presence over burnout. So next time someone crosses a line, pause, breathe, and kindly, firmly draw it again. In doing so, you protect the calm within you. That's not distance, that's dignity, the kind the Stoics knew was worth defending. Part number 13, control your reactions, the final Stoic frontier of inner freedom. Imagine standing in the middle of a raging storm. Winds howl, waves crash, chaos surrounds you, but deep within, you remain still. This is the essence of the 13th and final Stoic strategy. Control your reactions. In a world that constantly pulls at our emotions, true power lies not in controlling others, but in mastering ourselves. Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Life will test you through unexpected criticism, betrayal, delay, disappointment. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn how to surf them with grace and clarity. To begin this practice, you must first become aware of your emotional terrain. What triggers your frustration, your defensiveness, your urge to retaliate? Naming your triggers doesn't weaken you. It gives you the space to choose. Awareness is the first act of control. Here's a Stoic exercise. When you feel an emotional wave building, pause, breathe, count to 3. Then ask yourself, Asterisk, is this reaction aligned with the person I want to be? Often we act on impulse, only to regret it moments later. But in that brief pause lies freedom, the freedom to respond instead of react. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It's a gentle yet radical truth. We don't need to be ruled by our moods. We can observe them, ride them, and let them pass, without being swept away. Your tone, your words, your facial expression, all of these are under your influence. When someone lashes out, you don't have to return fire. You can stay calm, ask a question, or simply walk away. That's not weakness, it's sovereignty. In practical terms, try keeping a small journal at the end of the day. Note moments where you stayed grounded and moments where you didn't. Reflect not with judgment, but with curiosity. Asterisk, what was I protecting? What belief did I hold in that moment? This builds self-awareness, the foundation of emotional strength. So the next time you feel provoked, remember, storms will come, but you are not the storm. You are the sailor who chooses how to steer. That choice, quiet, deliberate, and dignified, is the Stoic path to true freedom. Thank you for walking this Stoic path with us today. At Stoic Timeless Lessons, we believe true strength lies not in control over others, but in mastery over ourselves. The battle ends when the mind finds stillness. What might shift in your life if you stopped reacting and started understanding? Something deeper is waiting. Don't walk away just yet.